What's going on, everyone? This is Devin here from Anyone Outdoors, and today I'm at a new location. It's still technically in a public park area, but it's fairly secluded back here. It's a little, if I'm going to be honest about it, it's a little spooky back here, but we're definitely I'm probably going to see people walking around out here, so I'm not really that isolated. There's just definitely a weird vibe back here, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. But we're going to go ahead and take our time, and I'm going to try to explain in a little bit more detail how to just run a quick deploy ridgeline and maybe set up a quick lean-to and very quickly transition that into like maybe a plow point and just demonstrate a little bit of flexibility with not a lot of gear. I'm also just field testing my pack weight, and what I'm bringing out here essentially is a quick shelter setup and a little bit of bedding, and so that's really all I'm testing out today. So let's get to it. All right, so that's pretty much it, just for getting up the lean-to. Pretty quick and easy. I tried to slow down and take my time. You know, you can see it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get one of these up. Now the next thing I'm getting down obviously is my ground pad here. That's like a brand new ground pad, and it doesn't lay very flat yet. It's one of those that folds up like accordion style, but you know, they're okay. It was about 35 bucks. The advertised R value is 2. I don't buy it personally, but it's what I could get on short notice, and it weighs next to nothing. And the next thing we'll do is just roll out a blanket and then we'll talk a little bit more about the complications from bedding options. All right, so this is my blanket, and if you kind of notice there, I've got my pillow kind of rolled up in there just to give it a little extra loft. And it's not my intent to fully roll out the blanket. That just gives you a quick, just sort of a quick idea of a sort of a quick deploy lean-to, and also very expeditiously rolling out a little bit of bedding. I could lay down here and just take a cat nap for an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that, and be left alone. And so that's pretty much it as far as just getting this put up. All right, so here we are. I've got my little layer set up here. I don't really think the people behind me that are still walking along the trail could really see me back here. They would have to really be looking. On the way here, I tried to pick up a mossy oak 6x8 tarp. They were out of stock on that, and I believe I could have fit it between these two trees. It would have been a little bit of a squeeze. This is a 5x7. It's a little small, but I'm a pretty small guy, and it does give you a little leeway whenever you have less than ideal spacing. The blanket, generally speaking, I do recommend trying to practice going out with maybe just shelter and a bedding. Get whatever bedding you can cobble together and see how practical or really impractical it might be. What I would really like to have is one of those $35 Coleman camping blankets. It's not something I would recommend for real cold winter nights or anything like that, but if you just want to practice getting out into a local park, provided you have enough privacy in the wooded area, if you have that luxury, I think one of those Coleman blankets that come in their own little bivy pouch kind of thing. It's not really a bivy, it's like the same kind of sack a sleeping bag would come in. It's just much smaller. Also, this pillow here comes with its own little sack here. It's an Ozark Trail. It's a terrible pillow, but I've had it for a long time, and it does give me some idea as far as once you get your bedding together, like your tarp, whether it be a common Harbor Freight / Walmart tarp, or like one of those really nice DD hammocks type of camping tarps. You get all that stuff in your pack, and you will very quickly realize how much room just shelter and bedding will eat up in your pack. And so if I had any recommendation as far as this video goes, is to try to get your shelter and bedding system manageable, not micro or like ultralight necessarily, but just configure it so you still have some kind of room left over for like your fire kit, cutting tools, maybe a little food, camping stove, all the other bells and whistles that come with these kind of outings, whether it be an overnighter or even just a day scout where maybe you want to sneak out and just take a nap in the woods for a little bit. That being said, maybe let's switch gears for a second and see if we can't convert this lean-to into a Plow-Point without a whole lot of trouble. Now what I would like to try is to unhook that top corner there and just stake just that one corner directly to the ground, leaving everything else exactly like it is. And let's just see how well, or maybe it doesn't convert to a Plow-Point that well, but let's just give this a try. So we just undid the toggle at the ridgeline, and we're just staking this straight to the ground. Nothing more to it. I mean, that's how fast you convert from a lean-to to a Plow-Point. All right, so what we have here is a very quickly converted Plow-Point. We'll kind of walk around a little bit, and it's a Plow-Point, but only by technicality. The biggest problem I really have with this setup here is that it's just a little too low. So what I would say is the ridge line really needs to come up quite a bit, and the wings here will have to be moved much closer together to allow the tip here to come up. But in a pinch, in a rainy situation, this would technically work. All right, so what we've done right here is I've basically moved this stake in a good bit, more than the camera can show. I've moved it from the original stake location in about 1.5 steps, and I've done that on both wings. And that should allow us to basically raise the entire ridgeline. It's a pain in the neck, but it is what it is. All right, so what we have here is a much more desirable setup here for a Plow-Point. And while it doesn't have an incredible amount of space, again, if you're a smaller guy like me, this could work in a pinch. All right, I want to take a second and look at the opposite end of the ridgeline here. I've hanged up my spare cordage, got it in this little knot here. It's really like a pocket loop. But right here, we have what has been referred to as like an improvised marlin spike hitch. It's interesting to note, or it's worth noting, that that little loop that you've got to tie in the line should be a decent amount of space away from your tree to get enough leverage to really get your ridgeline tight. I just wanted to pause for a moment and talk about the ridgeline, this rapid deploy ridgeline. I'm not going to go into any real detail about this because there are no shortage of videos on how to set up your rapid ridgeline, which is generally going to be composed of a bowline knot in one end and a couple of prusik loops tied onto it, whether it be with paracord or, like in this case, number 36 bank line. And usually I would want to use like OD green for all my cordage, but for the videos, the bright orange, the blaze orange, just picks up on camera so much better. And you may have noticed some orange cordage on the ground side of this tarp, and that is there in the event that I want to float or fly the ground terminating sides of the tarp to give me a little bit of airflow. Now, just for a scale reference, I've got, once again, my ground pad laid out. I just put my blanket, which is way too bulky, which is why I touched on the blanket conversation, but I just have it laid down there just for scale. And it's a tight fit, but there's no doubt about it, this would make a reasonably good shelter. I would just need to stake down a couple of more stakes to close that gap right there. But it's warm enough out here that, frankly, I probably shouldn't do that, and the weather is as such today that I should probably float my terminating points to the ground to actually encourage a little bit of airflow. But I'm going to lay down in this thing and you guys can see roughly about how much room you actually have to work with. All right, so I'm going to wrap up the video right here. I've got quite a bit of editing to do, but I just thought maybe you guys would enjoy a video in which I'm able to slow down at least a little bit and demonstrate, at least two really quick shelter setups that you can set up with a common tarp, just a common Walmart Harbor Freight tarp. And it is relatively easy, but there is some need for adjustment when going from the lean-to, to the Plow-Point. There's just no getting around it, but it can be done, and without a whole lot of time and effort. And I've got a nice little spot here to chill out for a while after I do this editing. And in fact, I may just kick back here, lay down while I do the edit. So I've got the perfect spot just to comfortably edit this video and get this posted. So I hope you found some value in this. I apologize for the lack of more comprehensive videos as far as length. The spot that I've been recording at before and the time window that I've had at this other location is it's just impossible to do a more thorough video. And unfortunately, I'll wrap it up at this point. Even this video is still not really comprehensive enough, but I would rather not over explain things, and maybe really encourage you guys to do some of your own homework on some of these things, because the resources are out there. And what I don't want for this channel is to present this as like you're going to get all your bushcrafting, fieldcraft, woodcraft information from me. I've drawn from the community, and you guys will likely have to do the same. But that's about it though. So I always appreciate it whenever you guys stop by, and keep an eye out for the next one. Thanks.